Committee, August 13th, 2018, 10:02 a.m. Well, we have a quorum. Would like a motion to approve the minutes of the prior meeting, July 24th, moved by Supervisor Garrity. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor McDevitt. All those in favor to approve the minutes? Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. Okay, item 3, action agenda. Review possible revision to the occupancy tax law to address home rentals. Who's presenting on this?
I will attempt. I do have some news that just came to light. The version of the law that is in your packet, proposed local law number 6 of 2015. I'm going to have to actually verbalize what the changes are because the edited law that we're considering today is not in your packet. My apologies.
Hold on, do you have that written down, like in red lines?
We have it on Amy's computer right here.
Can she print it out?
Or show it on the screen? Or?
Show it on the screen, yeah, that's right.
Yep.
I can't connect my computer. Can I email it to somebody?
You can email it to me, I'll let you know.
Okay. Shall we consider FOIL while we wait for...
While we wait for that, let's consider FOIL.
Yep.
Administrator Moore?
Okay. Now, I believe I sent the proposed FOIL revisions out to the board. The intent of the revisions were to make the way the FOILs are responded to more reflective of reality. Most of these FOILs come in to the administrator's office via submission on the form that's on the county's website. So what we've done is made clear that rather than have all these different records access officials for each county department, we make clear that these individuals are the custodians of records for their departments, but that the county administrator is the records access official. So what we request is that any FOIL requests come to the county by submission on the form that's on the county's website. We've made a couple of changes to that form to make it more noticeable. And to also add that if people have a problem using the form, that they're to contact my office by phone. This doesn't mean that this is the only avenue open to people to submit a FOIL. The county administrator has the authority to waive any of the specifics, the specifications on how this law would say a FOIL needs to be presented, so that if someone, does it the old-fashioned way and a department calls me up and says, hey, we got an old-fashioned FOIL letter, it's within our authority to accept that. But what we're trying to do is encourage people to use the form. It keeps the process more organized so that I can know what requests have been made, that I can stay on top of departments to get the information within the time allowed by the law.
Thank you, Ryan. And Ryan, this is part of the redlined edition from August 13th?
Yes, that's what we're considering today.
Well,
Yes, Supervisor Bramer.
yeah, thank you very much, County Administrator, for putting together the final revisions on this. I think it really does make it more streamlined and hopefully will be user-friendly to the public.
Yes.
The version that we have in our packets is from March, so this is not the one that's most updated. I'm just wondering, Brian, if you could tell me where you made that change about the, or if it's already in there, about being able to waive the particulars of a submission.
The version in front of you is from March. All right. All right. Let me, why don't I just...
I know you emailed it out, so I'm comfortable with everything that we had in the last version, just not...
It's on page 4 of 7, to number 3, the records access officer in his or her discretion may waive compliance with any formality prescribed in this division.
Yes, and I would propose changing the word Division B to section, just so that it's more clear that it covers Division A and Division B.
I don't know if there's much change from the March one on that. Do you see that, Supervisor Bramer, at all?
Yeah, I see where you're talking about, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that may help, yeah. Sorry, talking out loud. I think.
It's always nice to clean these up. And it's always a work in process, so we'll see how this one goes. Is there to be any action on this, or is this all administrative?
No, we would propose this for introduction. We would introduce this and schedule a public hearing.
Okay. Shall we do that at this committee?
I'll move that.
Okay.
I'm sorry for the clerical issues this morning in terms of the updates not being in the packet. I'll address that.
Yeah, moved by Supervisor Bramer, seconded by Supervisor Dickinson there. Got it in for you there, Supervisor Wild, that's okay. All right, any further discussion on, the motion is to bring this,
Is to introduce this at the meeting on Friday and schedule a public hearing.
okay, of this August 13th revision?
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? Yes, Supervisor Thomas.
Will the board get a listing of all the FOIL requests on say, a quarterly or semi-annual basis?
We added a provision for the board to get more information on FOIL requests that go through the appeal process, so that's written into this law. In terms of all FOIL requests, we did not address that in this law, but if any supervisors are interested in seeing that, we could certainly get it to you more readily than we can now, because everything will be coming through my office and we'll be able to log it.
I just think, maybe once or twice a year, quarterly one.
Okay?
Maybe we'll have to FOIL that.
No, we won't make you do that.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to bring this before the full board, to introduce. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries.
I have a question. How many FOILs do we get for it? Just ballpark.
Do you know, Amy?
I don't know the answer off the top of my head. It varies from week to week, day to day.
Not all of these requests make it to the county attorney's office for redaction. The ones that do take a very long time. So we'll be able to track that a little better now.
Supervisor Bramer.
Well, that brings up another point. Are we looking at the redaction protocol and tools, the electronic tools that we're using for this?
Yes, we are.
Can make that more streamlined as well?
We are.
Yeah, it can be really time-consuming on the county attorney's office, and it really should not be.
The redaction issue is not so much a matter of how much time it takes, but how professional it looks as the end result.
We have on our board here the occupancy tax law. Where would we like to start with that? Turn it over to Administrator.
Request those that are optically challenged, maybe we can make it bigger on the screen.
Sorry. To make it larger,
Yes.
I'm optically challenged also.
There you go.
Move closer.
I'm impressive.
On the right. Oh,
It's right there.
Okay, so there really aren't a whole lot of amendments here. So what's in the packet is the last version of the law, which was passed in 2015. I lost the top of it. Where'd that go? Oh wait, there it is. Like I said, I'm also optically challenged. What's in the packet is the version of the law that was passed in 2015, and that local law added some language about room remarketers, which was intended to encompass some of these online companies like Expedia and Hotels.com. These are companies who buy up a whole big parcel of hotel rooms and then they sell them online, sort of as an agent for the hotels. I have been talking with Airbnb for the last week or so. They very much oppose the fact that they are a room remarketer. They consider themselves to be something else. So the changes in this law, I've had some discussions with the Airbnb people. As I said, they seem really willing to work with us to get some sort of agreement in place so that they will be collecting occupancy taxes and sending directly to us. They had some concerns about whether or not the law as written would include short-term rentals, Airbnb type things where people are renting out their house or their apartment. Mary and I discussed this. It was our contention. We believe that the law does cover those types of rentals as is, but in order to clarify it and just make it a little bit simpler for people to understand, we thought that adding some language about short-term vacation rentals would be helpful. So that's all that's really included in this law that unfortunately I don't have copies for you of. So this language at the top is just in the preamble to state what's happening in terms of adding the definition of short-term vacation rental. And then there are two places within the law that it's amended to include this language. One is in the definition specifically of hotel or motel, and this just adds short-term vacation rentals and any other similar accommodations by whatever name designated. And then this is all alphabetical order, so at the end here we have a definition of short-term vacation rental. Yes?
Just a quick question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead.
Maybe
Supervisor
Dennis could
McGinnis.
clarify this possibly. On page 3 of 18, where we define a hotel or motel,
Yes.
at the end of that sentence, it describes housekeeping cottages with 4 or more units. That being said, one would assume that if it was less than 4 units, this would not apply to them. Correct. So that.
And I'm not really sure where it came from, Peter, but basically there are a number of people who have an apartment over the garage, and they might have put up a couple little cottages in the backyard.
Right, okay,
If it
good.
was less than 4 units,
But this does not apply. Okay.
Well,
Does this apply now, the short-term rental?
So this language is actually, it's statutory. It's included in the New York State law that authorizes the occupancy tax law in Warren County. I tried to do a little bit of research to figure out where this language comes from. I have a feeling that it's some type of historical zoning definition that was used, some time ago. It's certainly not a current term of art that's commonly used in zoning or other tax issues like this. However, from what I can tell, the housekeeping cottage is not the same as a person's guest house or something like that. A housekeeping cottage is it's a more hotel-like kind of facility where housekeeping services are provided on a daily basis, rather than a short-term vacation rental where you just have the owner will maybe give fresh linens and everything on the first day, but they're not generally going in every day of the stay and changing the towels and the linens and cleaning up after people.
Thank you.
Good. Supervisor Beatty?
Yeah, thank you. I got a couple of emails, I thought I'd throw this out there. A couple of people asked me, how come RV perks are not included in the occupancy tax scenario? So, obviously, they use facilities and so forth, so I had 2 people ask me that just recently.
Okay. Treasurer Swan?
They are expressly exempt from the law based on I may not say this correctly, but the underlying law by the state is what we have to go by, and that basically campgrounds, RV parks are exempted. My guess is because the state has several campgrounds.
True. Okay. That's a good reply. Thank you.
Good answer, yeah.
Supervisor Dickinson, did you want to comment?
No,
on that?
I was going to respond, but Mike got it.
Okay. Yeah, Supervisor Raymond?
Supervisor McDevitt, I think that your question was about whether maybe it's my question. If someone's renting out their home through Airbnb, it's just 1 unit, are they covered by this?
That's still get started at all. The question?
So the answer is yes.
Yes.
Okay. Then it doesn't matter if they have 4 rooms or
No.
for,
Airbnb came back and said you couldn't charge them unless they had more than 4 bedrooms. So we changed the law and said, no, if you rent your home out, it counts. When you got 2 bedrooms and 20 bedrooms. You rent
Okay.
your home, you back.
Yes,
my
Supervisor
my other
Braylon.
comment is, thank you for putting these changes together. I just think that it's sort of weird putting the short-term vacation rental under the hotel definition because people's homes are not hotels or motels. If we just change that.
If you look at the definition of hotel or motel, the very first part of it is any facility providing lodging on an overnight basis. And so we really believe that that is the core definition of hotel or motel that's in this law. All the stuff that's after it is just sort of, an explanation of what hotel or motel means. So we wanted to add short-term vacation rental in this section, just to be very clear that we do believe that it applies to these sorts of rentals as well.
My question is, can we change that the words hotel or motel at the very beginning to say rental facility?
We can talk about making further changes. As I mentioned before, the language comes from the state statute. So the original wording is, what's in the state law, and we can certainly change that. But I think that just to explain how we got to this particular wording.
Are we precluded from making this inclusion of short-term rentals by the state statute? Does the state
No.
statute only cover hotels and motels as defined here?
The state statute, basically what you have in your packet, actually, the 2015 law, that is what is written in the state statute. I did do quite a bit of legal research on this, and from what I can tell, we are not precluded from changing the definition of hotel or motel to clarify and explain what it means. And there is some precedent that's directly related, so I think that this is totally fine.
Supervisor Wild?
Mr. Chairman, for our time, did we look at other counties?
Yes, and the definitions here are partly informed by the Essex County changes. Essex County has recently signed one of these agreements with Airbnb, and they changed their occupancy tax law as well to include this short-term rental.
So how close are we in terms of the language between Essex and us?
I went through a variety of different cases and local laws from around the state to sort of to craft the particular language that I used, but I definitely used the Essex County version as a starting point. It's similar, and also in the way that the amendments that I've include both a specific definition of short-term rental and then also the inclusion in the definition of hotel or motel. That's found in the Essex County changes.
Okay, Supervisor Dickinson?
Motion, move this to the next step?
Okay, so we're bringing it to the floor. Yes.
Are there any other revisions, or is this
Yeah,
just
can
the
we
two?
go down on the...
On the document?
That's all.
Yeah, this is
That's all
all.
it was?
That's all there is.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
Okay, seconded by Supervisor McDevitt. Now discussion.
Okay, I'm going to pitch my change again, that we just change the words hotel or motel at the beginning of that definition in paragraph D to say rental facility, which would then be all of these examples, but primarily defined by lodging on an overnight basis. And then it would have to be changed in section 4, paragraph A, so that it's not just rent upon the occupancy of a room or rooms in a hotel or motel, but occupancy of a rental facility.
The
Structure.
Supervisor Bramer, just first thought on that. We often think of rentals as being apartments. So when you have a rental facility, whereas hotel and motel, maybe that keeps it more in transient language. But if it's within the definition itself, I know it's kind of circular.
I don't know, if I rented out my house, I would say, oh, I'm not a hotel.
But you're a short-term rental.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. Housekeeping cottages are included under hotel and motels as well. So, You don't think of housekeeping you think of housekeeping cottages as housekeeping cottages.
Right, let's delete
Standalone
that,
little
too.
buildings and not a motel, but, yeah. Yes.
Dennis, do you know why they have the 4 or less is excluded from housekeeping cottages? Can we delete that?
I just went over that.
I just think it's a degree of, you might say, compassion for the moms and the pops of the world, the small hotel motel users that, got a seasonal business, give me a break,
Then why are we going after mom and pops who are renting out their home for the summer?
It's different. That's a significant portion. The number of people that have 1, 2, or 3 cottages in their yard, the few and far between.
Yeah,
Usually a situation where they put in a mom and pop.
Supervisor Dickinson can probably speak to this as well as others from Lake Placid and some of these other towns, that with the advent of technology and being able to rent on short-term rentals, it has the ability to flip the nature and character of a town from being, a community to being transient, and your downtowns then become just all rentals. Nobody's living there. They're bought as investments. These are all things that were discussed up at the Common Ground Alliance several weeks ago. They had a whole workshop on that. Supervisor Garrity, Supervisor McDevitt, did you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay. Supervisor Wild.
Of course I do. I think Supervisor Bramer brought this up about
how many you have here.
about renting their house out for the summer or for the track season. Are we precluding those rentals because we're saying 30 days or less?
If they rent it for more than 30 days, they're precluded.
They're out.
They're out.
If you're somebody that rents for, like you have a renter.
You buy a
You've
house,
never-
you rent it out year-round, by the month, good to go. But if you're renting it monthly, less than,
On a weekend.
less than a month. My neighbor built a brand new house across the road from me. I went by this morning, he had 8 cars in his driveway. He's rented it out ever since we finished it.
Okay. Right, I got it. Thank you.
Do you know, does the Chamber of Commerce have any comment on this?
Yeah, we just wanted to, I'm Human Service with the Lake George Regional Chamber of Commerce, and just as you're thinking this through, also thinking through the other areas of leveling the playing field for all of those accommodations who have been living under the law. They're also collecting sales tax, they have liability insurance, they have Department of Health inspections, they have fire inspections, paying workman's comp insurance. So in just coming here to remind everybody, there's something, right now, people are losing their business because of the short-term rentals that are currently taking place. I realize collection of the occupancy tax is a big deal for our county, but also leveling the playing field from a business perspective. We can't forget those 100-plus properties, or 162 that are currently doing business, living under the law, and all of the subsequent laws and regulations that they have to adhere to.
Yeah, Supervisor Garrity, would you like to speak to that?
Aren't they required to collect sales tax? No.
It's a gray area.
They're required to anyways, right? They don't, or we don't think they do.
Well, right now, they're unregulated, so we're not doing it.
That's right, and now both in the town of Lake George and town of Warrensburg, you're considering short-term rental ordinances.
Yeah,
Does that include registration, compliances with
Exactly.
fire and safety?
It's all the things that Gina brought up. In order to rent your home, you need to get a business license. We're very close to the end.
we're toying with the same thing, whether
Yeah.
You need to get a business license, and the business license requires you to, number of occupants, number of places to park, you have fire extinguishers and smoke alarms, blah, 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 insurance. And one of the key things for this is, a lot of these home renters are from out of the area. You can't rent your home short-term in Lake George after we pass our law without a designated representative here.
Yeah, that's what
Here, they have to be here. They have to be able to show up within 15 minutes if there's an issue.
Yes. Supervisor Simpson?
One of the other big issues in, say, a town that doesn't have a municipal sewer, the fact that you've got a 4-bedroom home with 4 families in there renting, that exceed the engineered septic system that are on the list.
That's all part of our business
That's-
license. Because we have no central sewer. Very small area. Where most of these house rentals are, we don't have central sewer.
Yes. Supervisor Garrity.
Can you just clarify that? Are they not required to collect sales tax? I thought they were required. They're not now? As far as I know, they're required. They are required. Whether it's being collected or not, I don't know. Right, but we could, okay.
So
We're gonna have a better idea.
Right, if you bring them in and give them a business license,
Then it's a different story.
now they gotta pay sales tax, not tax.
Yes, Supervisor Bramer.
No, mine was on a different topic.
Well, in terms of sales tax, does Airbnb collect sales tax?
They just sent me sample documents of their contract and the reporting info that they send us back. I have not had a chance to look through there yet, but it's I believe that they may include sales tax as part of that. Sales tax is slightly more complicated on this issue of short-term vacation rentals because there is an exemption under state law for bungalows, which is, it's another one of these oddly defined types of housing unit. So I'm not quite sure how Airbnb deals with that in terms of renting out houses.
Well, and I know,
Go ahead.
Airbnb is a big one, but there's other companies.
Yes.
Are we like gonna come into an
We
agreement with all these like?
we are looking towards talking with the other companies that do this too. Airbnb
People that just don't use any of those services.
that is an issue to continue discussing.
Forgot what I was gonna say.
Sales tax.
Sales tax. Airbnb won't collect any taxes unless they're obligated to by either state law or some local law. And that's part of the reason that I terminated my conversations with them over 2 years ago, and moved on to doing the short-term rental thing. So once we pass that law and it's in effect, then Airbnb and all the other ones, including private rentals, will be subject to paying sales tax and knock tax.
So, if I may, I have some listings here on Brant Lake, right on Brant Lake. Here's a house that has 4 bedrooms. They're advertising can handle 12 guests. So, you got a lot of strain on a lakeside septic system, and these are all big issues that we have going on.
Yep. Let's see if they measure up almost 50.
Supervisor Bramer.
I gonna harp on this one more time, this thing about hotel or motel. If we want to be absolutely clear that we're including more than just hotels and motels, we should change that word.
But then we should also, you wanted something that would include housekeeping cottages, inns, bed and breakfast, because those are all listed under hotel and motel.
No, I'm saying just change the word hotel or motel at the beginning of subparagraph C to say rental structure.
The summary.
So, tourist accommodation.
All rental structures. No, well, yeah, but this is the definition.
Supervisor Wild, then.
Yeah, I don't know.
So just a point of order, the question to the committee is, should we bring this to the full board for a public hearing? And I would like to suggest that if we do get it past the board, that we invite Airbnb and what other agencies that might be involved to come to our public hearing and enlighten us on their thoughts.
We'll put a call out to them. Any other discussion from the committee members? If not, I'll recognize the public. Travis? Oh, sorry, Brad?
No, I was just, Claudia, like I said, if I'm looking at a hotel motel, I kind of look at any, hotel motel or rental structure. I mean, it just sounds like, to me, in C, it's, simple terms, people just gonna say, oh, it says hotel and motel. It doesn't really, they're not gonna read on.
It's legal.
Huh?
It's a legal terminology, right? It's not for the general public, it's for the company attorneys to look at and say, okay, I need to do this.
Perhaps Director of Planning can give us definition, wisdom.
Residential rental, because if you just say rentals, you're including all your business, and I don't think that's the intent. If you say residential rental, it includes all of what you're after.
Annually. Then you're getting way away from the original intent of the law, which is tourist accommodation. And if you say residential rental, then you're losing all your motels and hotels, because they're not residential rentals.
Yeah, but it's always a matter of definition.
Well, we stick with what we got, and we're challenged. It's covered under tourist accommodation, that's what you have. When it says, it starts out tourist accommodation, and then it breaks it down motel, hotel, then it goes down further to housekeeping, bungalows, B&Bs, and breaks down from there.
Okay. Supervisor Simpson,
That also matches our Adirondack Park Agency approved plan, zoning plan, tourist accommodation. I mean, on first blush, if somebody went to a rental facility, I'd be questioning whether the self-storage buildings should be paying occupancy tax. So I think if you keep it consistent with what the state agencies use for their definition, I think we're good.
okay.
What's a tourist?
Travis?
I just want to interject, some of the concerns about overloading these facilities are very valid, overloading septic systems, et cetera. And I just want to say that I've rented over in Vermont, and Vermont has done everyone a favor, I believe, by saying that you can do this Airbnb thing, but if you start going over more than 5 people in that facility, that building, whatever, now we're going to start calling you a B&B. And if you start being called a B&B, you have to have sprinklers, you have to have this, you have to have that. It starts to get very cumbersome for them. So I know I've been asked to rent and have 6 people there, including a couple little children. He said, sorry, can't do it, 5 max. So, I mean, that's something that if the state didn't that would be wonderful, but you could also consider something more locally in defining that, because in the parking issues you've been talking about, I mean, a lot of people just say, oh, we're going to have the whole college crowd over here and have a kegger or whatever. That becomes a real problem.
Yes. Okay. We have on the floor a motion to move this to the full board. Is that correct? Okay. I'd like to call that question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. And we can make further adjustments as we move on. No discussion items. We worked on referral and pending items. Any other referral pending items? Okay, privilege of the floor. Okay, seeing none, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, Dickinson and Wild. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Adopted that version.
So the next step is